So help me understand why it's wrong for the U.S. to do what they're doing. Every other country would do the same thing. Every other Western country would do the same thing.
Every other Western country would do the same thing.
Yeah.
Is that like logically consistent? That like because
Yeah,
every
sure.
other
So like if you
so
can't go
because every
across
other
America, you
Western
can't go live
country
in
would do
Australia, you can't go live in
okay. All right.
certain
That's not
countries
what
in
I'm asking you.
Europe without.
Not what I'm asking you. I'm saying, is it logically consistent that because every other Western country would do something, would be willing to do something, that it's necessarily good and we should do it too?
No, no, don't answer my question first. Why is it only the U.S. being scrutinized?
Because we have a constitution that
And
protects
what's
that
against?
protects against these types of things. Not to say that other countries don't. For instance, I hear a lot of bitching and moaning from the right about social media censorship in the UK, for instance, right? But the UK doesn't have the same First Amendment protections that we do. So something that
So
over
has
there,
the
something that they can do over there and is totally fine in their country would not fly in ours.
how does the U.S. Constitution
Arresting
protect
people,
illegal immigrants?
it gives them it doesn't necessarily protect them from being deported, but it
Mhm.
just makes sure that there's some procedure that happens before they are deported.
So are they criminals for coming over here illegally?
I mean, it is illegal to do so. Yeah,
So
illegal.
they were criminals, right?
It is illegal to enter the country without permission from the government. Yeah,
Now, how many illegal immigrants do you think there are in the U.S.?
I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Would you say that it's probably enough to overwhelm our judicial system if we're actually going to get each and every single one of them in front of the judge one at a time? How long do you think that would take?
I don't care.
Oh, so then turn our head to criminals and crime because we can't process it because we have a broken judicial system who cannot support the amount of crime that's happening.
What's the is that does that mean we just nullify the Fifth Amendment because there's too many people breaking whatever particular law?
No, I'm saying we expedite the process. There's too much red barricade tape to handle the influx of illegal immigrants. There's too much red tape. They're criminals,
Sure,
no matter who it
we
is.
there's ways we can expedite the process for sure. There's
Yeah.
multiple ways to expedite it. That doesn't mean you just completely override the Fifth Amendment. That's not how that works. We would never do that in any other circumstance.
How's it being overridden?
Well, if the Fifth Amendment allows for before the government issues a deprivation against you, in this case, the deprivation is being deported from the country, there's some process that is due. In the case of a deportation, it might be as simple as you go to a hearing in front of an immigration judge, and the government says, we allege this person's deportable because they are undocumented, and that's it. And then the judge says, is this true of you? And you're like, yeah, that's true. I'm not a documented immigrant. And the judge says, okay, see ya. Like that could be the whole process, really. But we don't just not do that. We don't just say fuck the Fifth Amendment because there's too many people. That's why I said when you asked how many are here or like how long would it take to give everyone a hearing, the answer is I don't give a fuck, because that's not an excuse. Even if the answer was, if the realistic answer was 7,000 years, let's say that was the actual mathematical answer, is it would take 7,000 years. That's not. I don't give a fuck about that argument. I don't accept that argument. It doesn't matter.
Who's not getting their due process?
Hmm?
Who's not getting their due process?
Like every single person that was deported on March 15th under the Alien Enemies Act to Secot in El Salvador, every single one of them didn't get due process.
You said how easy it was. Hey, do you have documentation? No. Let me see it. Oh, I don't have any. This is that easy.
So
They could have shown the
do you
documentation.
contest that those people didn't get due process? You're saying that's not
I'm
true?
If they had documentation, all they have to do is show it.
So I asked you a yes or no question. I'm gonna ask again. Are you saying that I'm actually wrong and those people did get due process?
I'm saying that well, from what you and I said, how easy it could be, right? That could have happened. The
Sure.
whole long red barricade of what probably is. I honestly don't know what is actually required. It should be as easy as what you and I said. It should be that simple. Hey, do you have it? Put it in front of a judge. Nope, I don't have anything. Okay, peace.
So is that a
Did
yes or
that
a no?
happen? I do believe that happened. Yes.
Okay, it didn't. Secondly, whilst
How do you know it didn't?
well, I mean, the government got the chance to lay out their evidence to prove that they did give the people due process, and they were unable to do so, and the Supreme Court ruled that the people weren't given due process.
Well, hold on. The Supreme Court also ruled that they weren't required to bring them back.
It's a different case, buddy. Stay on topic.
How is that a different case? You're talking about the people who were deported, right?
I'm talking about the ruling in JGG versus Trump. Anything in relation to bringing people back, you'd inherently be talking about Gilmar's case, probably, which isn't even what you said is not true. That's not what they ruled, but whatever.
Yeah, I thought they were ruled in favor of Trump not having to order them to come back.
I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm not. We're not going to run down this line again. We are talking. What the case you're talking about is not the case I'm talking about. Okay, we good on
Well,
that?
it's the same issue, right?
Not the same issue.
How is that not the same issue?
Because my claim was that they ruled that the deportations were done without due process. So they're ruling on whether or not the courts can order the president to, go get a person, is entirely off topic. This has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Has the Supreme Court said that the U.S. president is committing a crime right now, not in line with the Constitution?
Is committing a crime right now.
Yeah, by deporting people without what you saying due process.
They said that the Alien Enemies Act deportations that occurred on March 15th, something around 200 people, somewhere in that ballpark, that those were unconstitutional deportations. Yes.
Okay, and what's being done about it?
It's still being litigated in court. It was remanded to the lower courts. It's still being dealt with.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'll seize it. I mean, I understand that. I'll have to do more research. I don't have enough research about that. All the stuff in LA though, in the ICE raids, I do believe that the amount of people being picked up and the Marines being sent out there to support a failed state with a terrible governor who's refusing to take action in the best interest of his local community and the nation as a whole was the right move. I'll say that. But I know that's not the topic of the conversation.
It's not the topic of the conversation, but we can talk about it because, we obviously disagree. I just want to ask you. I just want to get a quick knowledge check. Do you know what statutory requirements and statutory authorities are? Like when I say the word statutory requirement or I say the word statutory authority, like is that going to make sense to you? Do you know what I'm referring to?
Yes, give me the brief 2-second definition.
So when I'm talking about a statutory requirement, I'm talking about something that a statute requires you to do in order to use the powers that are granted by that law.
Oh, sure, yeah. Right. There's three that require him to use the National Guard, to mobilize the National Guard. Yes.
All right, and there's one that I care about, and because technically there's two things that need to happen. I know what you're referring to. I'm just going to correct it for chat. There's two things that need to happen. One of the three things that you're referring to, right? There's three things that could happen. Okay, that needs to be present, and then two, the orders, to the National Guard, telling them what to do, has to be done through the governor.
Oh, that's actually incorrect. I was in the Texas Army National Guard.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me how the law. Oh man, you're doing the thing. Fuck, I hate people like you, bro. I'm not. This isn't.
Oh, it's the
this
truth.
isn't. No.
Dude,
Okay. I was active duty military too. I don't give a fuck. That's not what we're talking about. The statute that Donald Trump derived the authority to take this action from. I don't know if you know this, but oftentimes when a president does something, when they invoke a power, they'll cite to the law that gave them the power. So when they say, "I'm going to do this because this law right here says I can," they'll do that. And Trump did. He said, I'm gonna send in the National Guard, and this law right here gives me the power to do that. Well, if you read that law, the law that he cited to, if you read the law that he cited to, the orders to the National Guard
created.
Huh?
Why was the National Guard created?
Are you just not going to contend with what I said at all, huh?
No,
you're going to pivot that hard. You're going to you're going to break your ankles that fucking hard in order to not fight that argument at all, huh?
It was created for civil unrest.
Man, you're gonna fucking snap your whole spine trying to pivot away from what I just said. That is insane.
Then read it. Read what you're gonna read.
I'm not reading anything. I'm asking you to contend with that argument.
But I don't know the other than those three things that are required. One of the three things. I don't know the second thing you're talking about. So you have to explain that to me.
Okay.
But I did see JD. No, sorry, I wasn't JD. I forgot who it was that was being questioned by the committee for, I guess, how the money was being spent.
Sure, I don't care about any of that. Here you go. You ready? All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is the law that Trump used in order to send in the National Guard. Okay.
Okay.
Whenever the United States or any of the commonwealths or possessions is invaded or is in danger of invasion by a foreign nation, that's one of the things that could be present. 2, there is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with the regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Okay, so those are the things that one of those needs to be present, right? All right,
Yep.
that's not what I'm not arguing about any of those, whether or not any of them are present. Okay, this part, okay, this is what I'm asking you to contend with. Okay, if one of those things are present, quote, the president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. Orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states, or in the case of D.C., through the commanding general of the National Guard. That second part right there shall be issued through the governor of the state. Well, Trump is directly, very publicly, completely subverting the governor of the state. He's saying, "Fuck that guy. I'm not going to work with him at all." The law that he's deriving the authority to do this, he's saying, "I'm doing this based on the authority granted to me by this law right here." The fucking law that he's trying to cite to for the authority to do this specifically says you have to work with the governor. The governor has to be the one to issue the orders to the National Guard. And he's just like, "Yeah, fuck. No, I'm not going to do that." So you can say statutorily. That's why I asked you. You remember at the beginning of this when I said, just to be clear, you know what statutory requirement means, meaning something that the law requires you to do if you want to use the powers that law grants. Well, in this case, the law requires that the orders be issued through the governor.
Okay, so I'm actually going to read what I'm looking at now.
Okay. Wait, real quick. I'll let you read it. I sort of God, I will. I will let you read whatever you're going to read. Okay.
Okay.
Do you understand that no matter what you read, it doesn't matter because it's not the authority that Trump sided to when he took the action? What you would want to criticize, or what you would want to, if you were trying to prove that Trump did have the authority to do this, you would go to what he is saying is giving him the authority to do it, right? Yeah.
Let me read it.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So the Insurrection Act, right, allows the president to deploy federal troops, including the National Guard, to suppress insurrections, enforce federal authority to ensure civil rights. Now, you can do Title 32, which is governor consent, or Title 10, which is federalization. He does not need permission or governance by the governor for Title 10 orders. So these soldiers are there under Title 10, not Title 32.
You know the thing. You know the law that I just. Okay, we'll do this. We'll do it this way. Would you agree that the law I read you? This is all I'm asking. Don't try to broaden my question at all. Just answer the specific words I say. Okay. Would you agree that the law that I read you statutorily requires that the orders to the National Guard be given by the governor?
Oh.
Just the law that I read you. The words I said.
Can you state the code for me, or the law? Can
you answer yes or no to that first?
I need to read it.
This is the text of the law. The president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. Orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states. Would you agree that says what I am contending it says?
Yes, you're halfway right with Title 32 orders.
Okay. That's all I wanted. I just wanted you to. Yeah, okay. I got you.
Title 10 is the other half.
I got you. All I wanted you to say was yes. That law does say what you're saying it says. I know that was a confusing sentence. Okay.
Yes.
Now I'm going to tell you the law. Okay. This is going to be a fucking mind blower for you. I hope your brain doesn't explode when I say it. This is 10 USC 12406.
Yep, I'm looking at it.
Okay.
Now look at
this is a section.
335, the Insurrection Act.
This is a section. Did he invoke the Insurrection Act?
It says, okay, 12.406.
Yes or no? Did he invoke the Insurrection Act?
I don't know.
I know the fuck you don't know. Oh my Lord, have mercy. So your whole argument here is that under the Insurrection Act, he doesn't need the governor's permission at all. And I would fucking agree with you. I would, because that's true. That would be a true fact that you'd be stating.
But under 12.406...
But he didn't invoke the Insurrection Act! So it doesn't matter!
Under 12.406, the one you're commenting on?
Yeah.
he can still put them under Title 10 orders.
This isn't, for one, this is Title 10. I'm gonna fucking throw
No, what
myself
you're
off the roof.
referring to is Title 32, where the governor has control.
Do you remember when I told you, when I read you the law and then I told you I told you the code?
Yes,
You remember what I said?
Authorize the president to call up National Guard during times of invasion, rebellion, and inability for the state to enforce U.S. laws. And he's doing that under Title 10 orders, aka he is going around the governor. He is acting as the commander-in-chief of the National Guard with Title 10 orders. Argue that.
Well, I did. You're just, I don't want to be overly mean. I'm not wrong.
You're wrong.
What law did he?
And you know what's wrong? It's bad about it is you're miseducating your entire platform.
I'm 100% correct. What law did he cite to?
Then explain your entire platform. All these people listening right now, what the difference is between Title 32 and Title 10 right now.
He never invoked Title 32 at all.
He doesn't have to invoke that. It's not a law, you dumbass.
I know. He did. I'm saying he used no code. He used no code under Title 32.
They're under the orders. Get an order from one of the soldiers. Come on, previous what, Marine, soldier? What were you?
Why are you tweaking?
What were you?
Why are you tweaking?
What were you?
Why are you tweaking?
Because your entire following right here, you're not giving them all the true facts. He does not have to invoke a Title 10 order. They get orders. Soldiers get orders. Marines get orders. Title 10 is not an order. It's a 12406 or 331 to 335.
It's a title of the U.S. Code. I'm aware. Are you not like tracking what I'm saying at all?
He does not have to give the order to the governor if it's under Title 10 orders.
All right, I'm going to ask you that again. Yes, it's a yes or no question. Are you tracking what I'm saying at all, like across the board? Period.
You're saying that 12406 says that he has to use the governor. That's not true. That's what I'm saying.
To be clear.
12406
to be clear.
To use Title 10 as well.
To be clear. Statutorily, 12406 is a code under Title 10. Can you agree with that? Can you agree with what I just said? 12406 is one of the sections of Title 10. Agree? Okay, so if you can't just say yes, like that alone tells me everything I need to know.
Title 10, yes, it does.
Okay. That is the law. That is the section in which he derived the power to send them in. He said it himself.
Does not need the governor's approval.
In fact, hold up. In fact, I don't need to like argue this to you. I'll just read what he said. He
does not need the governor's approval. He does not need it
it's
at
fine.
all.
It's fine. You can keep talking to a wall. Well, you're not right.
Say that I'm right.
You're not.
So under Title 10 orders, he has to have the governor leading the National Guard?
If he invoked the Insurrection Act, then he wouldn't need permission.
Even under 12406, the one you were stating previously, if it's under Title 10, he still does not need the governor's authority.
What do you think titles are? When you say, like, when I say Title 8, Title 10, Title 42, what is that? What am I even talking about?
Anytime any of the soldiers of the U.S. from the Second Army National Guard go to the border under Governor Abbott, it's Title 32. Anytime that they are federalized and go to Afghanistan or Iraq, or they are under military or under Obama or any other president that were doing federal orders, there were Title 10 orders. It's Fort Hood, Fort Bliss, whatever. Once it's Title 10, your commander-in-chief is the president of the United States of America. Title 32 is whenever the governor has to give consent. You are miseducating your entire following with this.
Do you understand that I'm citing to stuff and I'm actually reading the law to you?
I am reading it right here. You're just
screaming and making claims.
I am reading it right here.
Okay. What are you reading? Cite your source. What are you reading?
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. I'm cheating. I'm using CHAT GPT.
I know you are. I'm fucking aware. Jesus Christ.
But hey, CHAT GPT is not wrong.
CHAT GPT. So your argument.
So what's up?
I want to hear you say yes or no to this. You think that CHAT GPT is more correct than the literal text of the law? The law says
I'm telling you that CHAT
X, Y, or Z.
GPT knows how to find all the languages, the language of the law, in a matter of 2 seconds.
You can't just read the law yourself? You can't do that?
Why would I do that when I can just go right here and do that instead of
why would you read the law yourself and bother trying to understand it when AI can do it for you? Right? Yeah, for sure.
I agree semantics with this because you're wrong.
I'm sitting here on Trump's order, ready to read it to you. I just
read it.
Okay.
Read it.
In light of these incidences, I'm not reading the introduction. Okay, this is just the middle section. So when he says these instances, we know what he's talking about. Okay.
Yep.
In light of these instances and credible threats of continued violence, this is the important part. I need your ears perked for this. Okay.
Let's do it.
By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby call into federal service members and units of the National Guard under 10 USC 12406 to temporarily protect ICE and other United States governmental personnel who are performing federal functions, including the enforcement of federal law, and to protect federal property at locations where protests against these functions are occurring or are likely to occur based on current threat assessments and planned operations. Further, I direct and delegate these actions as necessary for the Secretary of Defense to coordinate with the governors of the states and the National Guard Bureau in identifying and ordering into federal service the appropriate members and units of the National Guard under this authority. Specifically saying, I'm doing this, and I derive my power from Title 10, Section 12406.
Yep.
12406 has a statutory requirement attached to it. To use the power, you must do a couple things. And he's objectively not doing one of the things that you have to do to use the power.
What's he not doing?
I mean, I've already told you.
Look, he's using 12406. He's federalizing them. They're under Title 10 orders, not Title 32. They don't have to report to the governor. What else do I have to say to you?
I don't know how I'm gonna get through to you, man. Title 10 does in fact.
Now, some people can say it's not a rebellion, but it is a rebellion.
Title 10 is in fact used to federalize the National Guard, right?
Yes.
We both are totally in agreement there, right? Yeah.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah, we agree.
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on, baby. Hold on.
Once the
go grab it, baby.
I'll let him handle
Sorry, my
this.
kids want their
No,
tablet.
You're good. You're totally good.
Tablet.
No, you're totally good. The National Guard being federalized doesn't mean that the president can ignore statutory requirements. He can't just be like, yeah, I know the law says that I have to do that, but like, they're federalized now. Fuck the law. That's not how this shit works here.
No, but that is the law. If he can do, according to 12406, due to the rebellion, he can federalize those soldiers, which now report to him.
Okay, we're gonna have to go way more fundamental then. Fuck.
How can you get more fundamental than that?
Well, we can go to the fundamentals of how the authority is derived in the first place, right? So it's
by definition of a 12406, so it's determining, like, what some people say, hey, it is a rebellion, some people say it's not a rebellion.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. When I say derive the authority, I mean, like, if we take away all delegations, you can agree that what this law is in place to do is to delegate command of the National Guard to the president, right? Like, when you federalize the National Guard, that's the president getting control of them, right? Correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the governor. It's not. You're not trying to say the governor.
No.
Oh, okay, no. Correct. Correct.
So what I'm saying now is the way we get more fundamental is we take away all delegations and we go down to at the fucking very root. Where does the power even come from? What the fuck is going?
No, my kids see me. There's the window. They're banging on the window. They're just playing.
You're good. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, okay. I was tripping for a second. Okay.
So where the power comes from depends, right? Is it Title 32 or Title 10 orders?
That's not what I'm talking about.
Which one are you talking about?
But I do understand what you're saying. Okay, we'll take a step back then, I guess. We'll go one more step removed. You are right to identify that there's a difference there's a difference in the authorities that are granted by Title 32 and Title 10. You're correct to identify that. Who grants the powers that Title 10 confers?
Well, once that, I honestly, so whenever you go to 12406, since it is a federal, since it's a Title 10 already order, right? Since it is a Title 10 order, 12406, it is the president himself.
Someone in chat got it. Just read my chat. Someone figured it the fuck out. Congress. The power is granted by Congress. If it were the case that the president's authority was innate in this regard, there would be no use for congressional intervention. There would be, like, this law wouldn't even stop. This law wouldn't even need to be on the books. Why would you ever? Why the fuck would Congress waste their time passing a law that would give the president the ability?
No, there's a reason why
to take over the National Guard if he could just do that whenever with no statutory limitations whatsoever.
Reasons. They do that for emergency reasons, so they don't have to have a bunch of red barricade tape in the instance of rebellions or whatnot. These things that need quick response. That's why it exists.
Why would there be any? Why would there be any red tape if the authority was innate? Let me give you an example. You're lost. Let me give you an example.
No, the law also states.
Let me give you an example.
Only do it for so many days as well.
Yes, the law does state that. There's laws that state stuff like that. Do you know why? That's a restriction. That's a restriction on the president. Would you agree?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. 100%.
Who's restricting the president?
Well, obviously, you talk about like the different branches, separation of powers.
Yeah, who's doing who's doing it? Who's imposing that restriction? Who's saying you can only use it for certain days?
I mean, it's a law, so all of them.
Congress.
Yeah, it's a law. It's a law
right.
passed by all branches.
So Congress delegates the authority and imposes limitations where they think they're necessary. Correct.
Correct, but there is not a limitation. He's not outside of the bounds of limitation on this because there's a date, there's a time frame where he's allowed to say they're not going to go beyond 60 days. They do that for a reason. They said that these troops are only going to be mobilized for 60 days. They do that because there are limitations that exist, so that there is not an abuse of power.
So Congress can pass a law that says the president can only use the National Guard in this regard for X amount of days.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what the number of days is. And that's valid, correct?
Yes.
But you're saying them passing a law that says, hey, if you're going to take over the National Guard under this authority, the orders have to be given through the governor of the state. That's not valid.
They do not have to. I'm telling you, they don't have to. They do not have. He is the commander in chief. Once he invokes Title 10 orders for the military, he is now the commander in chief of that military body for the Guard. We're talking about for the Guard because he's already the commander in chief for all the active.
Okay, I'm gonna try this again. You're okay. All right, starting from right there. He under Title 10 authority, he federalized the National Guard, right? Correct. Okay. Yep. Where did he get the power to even fucking do that from? You said it, so you should be able to say it again, right? Say it. Title 10, correct?
Yes.
Title 10 was passed by Congress. Title 10 was passed by Congress. Congress gave the president the authority to do these things, right?
Yes.
Okay. Under the law, in Title 10, found within Title 10, Section 12406, passed by Congress, again, they imposed a restriction on the president. They said, you can't go around ordering, if you're going to federalize the National Guard in this manner, you're not going to be the one handing down the orders, the governor is. They put that in there. Congress passed that. They did that. I read it to you. You've seen it yourself. They put it there. The same people that gave him the authority also put a restriction there. But your argument is that the authority that they gave him was valid, but the restriction they put wasn't.
The restriction that they put is not valid. The governor under Title 10 orders does not have to. Under Title 32, the governor does.
Oh boy. Okay. Why is the granting of power valid and the restriction isn't valid?
Ethically or
no, I mean legally speaking. How come Congress has the authority to give the president a power, but they don't have the authority to restrict the power?
Because the commander in chief of the executive branch has supreme power for this. I mean, has the authority to do all that. That's for those exact reasons for emergency use that the National Guard needs to be available to the president for national interests. That's why. I mean, that's why. That's why they did that.
That's why Congress did that.
Absolutely. Look back in 1982. They did the same thing.
I'm gonna So, okay, we'll do this then. So your argument boils down to I want you to own this, I guess. If you're gonna own anything, own this. It is valid for it's valid for Congress to give the president a power, but it is not valid for them to restrict the power that they just gave him.
The president, under Title 10, assumes power. He does not have to have it delegated by the governor.
I didn't say anything about I didn't say anything about the governor. I just said Congress.
Well, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you then.
I said it is valid for the Congress to give the president a power, but not to restrict that power that they're giving him in some way.
It is restricted. It's restricted to based on a time frame.
Yeah,
and definition of the use. They have to. I mean, and again, people are arguing about the LA thing. Is it truly a rebellion? Is it truly insurrection? Some people are calling it violent protest, not insurrection or not rebellion. So it's semantics.
I gotta ask, why are you so averse? Why are you so averse to dealing with the law that he cited? Because you're giving him a lot of charity. You're like everything. I haven't pointed it out yet because I was trying to let you hang yourself, but I was trying to give you enough rope, But everything you've said technically would be pretty close to true, if not entirely true, if the section of Title 10 he used was the Insurrection Act. Had he used that, then we'd be having a whole different conversation right now. But you are arguing based on the assumption, no, not really assumption. You're arguing based on the powers granted to the president in the Insurrection Act. Why don't you want to contend with the law that he actually is using? I don't understand.
I'm not disagreeing with you that he used 12406. I'm also saying that 12406, whenever the president decides to assume the power, it does not have to be at the delegation or under the authority of the governor. The verbiage.
Okay. All right. Fine. This is where we'll move from exactly this point. Okay. Got you. Why does it say that in 12406 then?
Why does it say under?
Yeah, that line that I read. That line. Okay, I'll reread you the line. This line in particular. Okay, this particular line. The president may call into federal service members and units of the National Guard of any state in such numbers as he considers necessary to repel the invasion, suppress the rebellion, or execute those laws. Orders for these purposes shall be issued through the governors of the states. Why is that there? Like, what's the point? Why even write it there if it doesn't matter?
I don't know. I'll have to do my history on that, honestly. But if you think about all Title 10 orders, think about this. When I was an ASCII girl and I deployed to Afghanistan, I wasn't taking any governor direction.
Mm-hmm.
I was under Title 10 orders.
Uh-huh. Could you maybe yeah, you're actually kind of walking right into my point. Can you see the distinction between these two things? Can you see the difference? Sure. What the difference is here?
Well, explain to me what difference you're talking about. War versus rebellion?
No, that's not the difference at all. No, of course not. Hello, you good?
I'm here.
Yeah, well, it's not. It has nothing to do with the. It has absolutely nothing to do with what's going on.
Well, tell me what the difference is then.
You just said it. Where were you? Where'd they send you?
Afghanistan.
Okay. They sent you out of the country, huh?
Under Title 10 orders. Doesn't matter.
Do you think that Title 10 is just one really broad, humongous thing?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, you're fucking wrong.
Why?
What is a title? Boy, and I'm not asking you for to be super specifically, I'm not asking for the fucking law school answer, okay? Because that'd be an unreasonable expectation, okay? Just in general, what is a title?
Honestly, my law and regulations is specific to OSHA and Department of Labor. So if you want to ask me what a title is, I don't know what the actual definition. I can tell you what title.
This is what I'll say, okay?
I honestly don't know what a title.
Boil it all down to just the basics of it. A title is just a collection of laws categorized by what type, what they like the subject matter that they're in, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Title 10 is just like the armed forces regulations.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. Title 10 in and of itself, every law found within Title 10, every every single thing here is not exactly the same. Like you said, like you're like, oh, it's just one thing. It's not. It's not just one thing.
I don't think I said one thing. I'm not sure if
Well,
I.
I said you see it as like just one big thing. Like there's no different. There's no separation here between like this
Yes.
part of Title 10 and this part of Title 10. Because you said like your whole. This is what your argument boils down to. By the way, this is what you're saying, that like type anything found within Title 10, all of it grants the same authorities and comes with the same restrictions. It's all the same. There's no differentiation
yes, that's
between.
What I was saying by one thing. Yes.
Okay.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Yes.
What I'm telling you is that is just like absurdly wrong.
How so?
Title 10 is just a collection of laws.
No, I'm saying whether you're domestic or international, if it's under Title 10, it's Title 10. That has the same powers. There's no change no matter where you are.
Okay, so then what? So then this is the question I asked you before. If you believe that to be true, why would Congress waste their time writing in different restrictions for different sections of Title 10? What's the point? Why just fucking blow their time like that?
As into why would they put the verbiage in there about the governor?
Why would they put any restrictive verbiage anywhere in any fucking law in the entire collection of laws? What's the point of doing it if they all confer the same, they all come with the same restrictions and the same powers and everything? It's all the same. Why?
Well, obviously for definition and clarity.
What do you need to be clear on?
I think I'm missing a point. I may be missing a point you're trying to make.
Yeah, of course, because different sections of Title 10 grant different powers, and they also come with different restrictions.
Yes,
they are.
But your
different.
Point was, do you think? You asked me where were you, Afghanistan? I'm saying it didn't matter if it's Title 10. It's under federal law at that point, not state law, not state governance.
Well, this is a federal law.
Yes, that's what I was. That's what
all of Title 10 is a federal law.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm just saying. All I'm saying is that what this displays a fundamental misunderstanding of just how laws work.
I disagree. I disagree.
Okay. Oh, let me tell you. Just because one section of Title 10 says, "Hey, the president can send National Guardsmen to, another country to conduct some foreign operations." Just because one section says, and obviously you wouldn't need the permission of the governor. What's the governor going to be fucking the governor of, say, like, I don't pick a random ass state, Mississippi? What the governor of Mississippi is going to come to fucking Afghanistan and order the troops on the ground? That's ridiculous. Of course not, right? Yeah.
Title 10 does not differentiate location. Same thing happened during in Somalia back in the 90s.
Title 10 doesn't differentiate location. No.
So then why did you say, well, did you know where you were? Where were you? That doesn't matter.
I wasn't saying that because your location is what made the difference. I'm saying it's a completely fundamentally different thing. You don't know when you were sent over there. I was going to say you don't know, but I'm just going to tell you, you definitely were not given those orders under Section 12406. You just weren't.
Agreed. No, I know that.
Okay. Your orders came from a different law, the authority to even send you there was derived from a completely different law. So why the fuck would you ever sit here and try to use the law that gave the authority to send you there? Why would you apply that to this situation? It's a different situation, and the authority is being derived from a different law. And also, for you to even do what you're doing, you are fundamentally saying that, like when you boil it down, you're kind of saying Trump's a liar because he's telling you. It's not me telling you that he's getting his power to do this from Section 12406. I'm not saying that. He said that. You saying he's lying?
I'm saying that under Title 10 orders, he does not need the governor's approval to deploy the troops. He does not have to go to the direction. He becomes the commander-in-chief. Now, that verbiage might have been the way that's verbiage in the what's the terminology? Not the clarification, but I guess the intent behind the verbiage in the governor's portion of that 12406 is that they were trying to get alignment on organizational structure, but it's not required that the governor has to, but can be used.
Why does it say shall? What do you take shall to mean?
Shall is guaranteed.
Okay, so why does it say shall be issued through the governor? Why does it say that if it's not a requirement?
Well, then I need to reread it then.
I would agree.
Yeah. Let me hop back on.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye. Guys, holy mother of fuck.